Psychoanalysis and Spirituality, Dash Mahavidya. Today we will deal with, should not say deal, we will discuss the fourth Mahavidya, Bhuvneshwari. We started off with Kali, then Tara, then Tripura Sundari, and fourth is Bhuvneshwari. The story of origin of Bhuvneshwari, and this also tells about areas inside of us, outside of us, areas of mysticism and areas of philosophy and spirituality that are covered by Bhuvneshwari. Last time we discussed that all Mahavidyas essentially are done sadhana of, in normal language, worship for three broad objectives. Objectives to be attained inside of us, which deal with self-knowing and self-transformation. Objectives in the outside world related to security, power, or prosperity, or the broad area of mystical powers. These three are the broad areas in the realms of which objectives are to be attained, and each Mahavidya allows us to attain certain objectives in all these three areas. The good part about every Mahavidya is it's like a package solution. It is not a type of solution where a solution would work inside of you, but there's nothing you can do outside of you. And this has been one of the severe limitations of most spiritual approaches, that they can help you do something inside of us, but they will ask you to accept reality outside as it is. This is also the case with psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis helps us to work inside of us, but there's nothing in the outside world that psychoanalysis can do. And essentially, it gets to reality acceptance. Changing reality is outside of the scope of psychoanalysis, so also of many spiritual practices, but not for Mahavidyas. The approach of Mahavidyas is such that it aims at changing the inside and also the outside. So we are not put into a situation of helplessness of accepting reality as it is outside. So the same is true for all Mahavidyas, including Bhuvneshwari. And Bhuvneshwari focuses on certain areas of inside, of outside, and of certain mystical areas of understanding and power. So the story of origin goes like this. And this story of origin also links up to the objectives for which the Devi is to be worshipped. Story of origin is this. Surya has been created, and Surya now wants to create the three lokas, for which a new avatar of Devi is needed from Tripura Sundari. So rishis offer Soma and do the penance of Tripura Sundari, and she consents to create an emanation of her called Bhuvneshwari. And this Devi is the source Devi for the creation that we see around us. The creation that we see of Panch Mahabhuta, or the five fundamental elementals, the creation of all the five zones of reality, the physical, the energy, the emotional, the thought, and of pure consciousness and bliss, pure awareness and bliss. Bhuvneshwari is the source from which all elementals, all laws, they spring forth and then result in the creation that we see manifest around us. So Bhuvneshwari is the root Devi of manifestation of the concrete world that we see around us. It is that power that Tripura Sundari releases from herself, which allows, in a way, Aditi through Tripura Sundari to manifest in eminence of existence. So when we talk about the three aspects of reality, the transcendent aspect which we cannot fathom, which cannot understand, we can't even imagine, it's beyond our capability and possibly beyond capability of every being in manifestation. So that is the transcendent aspect of reality. Then there is a universal aspect of reality, which is like a ground of pure consciousness and unbroken, ceaseless ground of pure consciousness, which is the ground of entire manifest creation. And then we have the manifest creation. So after the transcendent comes the universal, and after the universal comes the immanent, and it is from the universal to the immanent, this movement is mediated by Bhuvneshwari. So the transcendent creates the universal. The universal then needs Bhuvneshwari, and then the becoming starts and the manifestation comes into existence. The concrete manifestation comes into existence. So when we look at the matter, the energy, the force, and even if we take the Indian conceptualization of the five zones of reality, the elementals of all these zones emerge from Bhuvneshwari. So Bhuvneshwari is the mother of elementals. Inside the human system, Bhuvneshwari deals with the root chakra, the sexual chakra, the power chakra, Manipur chakra, and the heart center. And in a concrete way, enables us to relate efficiently, happily to the world around us. Of all the Devis, some Devis are very focused on the practical aspect of life, the social aspect of life, and on the love that we may have or not have on the physical existence around us. Bhuvneshwari is one of those Mahavidyas, also known as Mahamaya. So this is the myth of origin. Essentially, she is the goddess of concrete manifestation. Concrete not in the meaning of engineering sense of the term, but the manifestation, the universe that we see, she is the goddess of elementals which go on then to create the universe. And therefore, the universe arises out of Bhuvneshwari. In a way, she is the operational ground of the universe. Just as Tripura Sundari is the desire ground of the universe. The depiction is she has 3 eyes, 20 arms. Most of them are in the mudra or the stance of benediction and blessing. There are jewels all around. She looks peaceful. Hands are giving bowls, seated on a red lotus, and bestows blessings and protection. So one of the things that we see here is prosperity, jewels. And the jewels are not only related to prosperity, but also related to prosperity in other realms like intellectual, artistic, and so on. So in a way, she's one of the benign, benevolent, and prosperity, pragmatism, and effectiveness in the world bestowing Devis. The mantra is, the Bija mantra is Reem. She is the Devi of Panch Mahabhuta, the 5 elementals. What is very important about this Devi is many intellectuals, artists, mystics, spiritual seekers who live most of their life in the inner world, who find themselves more at home in the inner world than in the outer world, who are not very social, who would rather like to think out something, create something, than to go out into the social world and be a part of a social group or a social movement. These intellectuals, artists, mystics, spiritual seekers, they unknowingly over a period of time develop a hidden but a very strong feeling of anger, hatred, fear, dislike, disinterest, and finally avoidance of the world. Physical world, the biological world, and also the social world, the practical world, so to say. And the worship of Bhuvneshwari helps you overcome all of this and makes you feel at home, positive, and happy in dealing with, looking at, understanding, and working with, and even controlling and managing the physical world, the biological world, and the social and practical world. It's like making a bank manager out of a saint, or a politician out of a saint, or a leader out of a saint. In a positive sense, not in a negative sense. So often we think of the physical existence around us, society around us, as a brute existence, not refined, not sensitive, not delicate, not ethical, but very brute and gross. And this makes us difficult to extend our love to this part of existence. And Bhuvneshwari enables us precisely to do, enables us to overcome these negative feelings towards the practical world, go for success in the world, and in the inner world, in the human system, it deals with uh, purification and sublimation of the earth element in the Muladhara Chakra. Similarly, purification and sublimation of the sexual center and of the power center helps us overcome the fear of the social world, the fear of being scolded, the fear of being humiliated, the fear of being rejected, the fear of asking and the fear of being asked of, the fear of responsibility, the fear of attack of people. It enables us to positively engage with the world, succeed and conquer them. Helps us to convert the problem of root chakra inertia into its sublimated equivalent of stability. It allows us to harness the power related to the elementals, the Panch Mahabhuta. So when we talk of Bhuta Shuddhi, purification of elementals and harnessing power of elementals. Elementals like the Panch Mahabhut of fire, water, earth, space, and air, or elementals related to the biological realm, or elementals related to the psychological realm. All the elementals can be purified, harnessed through this Mahavidya. Depends on how deep you go with this Mahavidya. One can manage and optimize elementals in the body, in the mind, in the outer society, and in nature. All of it is possible through this Mahavidya, as we are told in tradition. If we look at the Vedic approach, if we look at Tantric approach, in both these approaches, Homa or fire yagna is an important element. And that's one of the ways of purifying one of the bhutas, the fire. And one of the ways of doing it is through the sadhana of Bhuvneshwari. Not only fire, all the elementals of Panch Mahabhuta on the physical plane, and if you believe that other elementals on the biological and psychological plane also can be purified and harnessed. So Bhuvneshwari is the portal to enter those realms of knowledge and power. Also prosperity. And obviously this has a implication. Once the practical domain is taken care of, lot of anxiety, irritation, anger, the split getting open is automatically taken care of. One of the reasons for constant feeling of anxiety, irritation, anger, insecurity, inability to live a balanced quality of life is because of a constant fear related to survival. And this fear of survival, this fear of not being able to manage financially or socially one's family or one's home is often at the root of many psychological troubles, and it's kind of a general weakening of the psychological part of the system. And once you have the dexterity to deal with the physical world, the social world, and be a little prosperous through Bhuvneshwari, other sadhanas automatically become much easier. In fact, one of my gurus, he used to take an approach where the first thing he would do is to give a few mantras for prosperity of the person. And only after the money part has been taken care of, he would actually take the person into the thick of sadhana. And he would always say, if the fundamental financial part is not taken care of, how is the person going to concentrate on the inner world or even on the outer world in a deeper sense of the sadhana? So, in his unorthodox approach, he was probably trying to have some part of Bhuvneshwari or Kamala or some part of Tripura Sundari in first ensuring the foundational economic stability of the person, security of the person, and then going into the real sadhana. So it was like he did not go as far deep as the sadhana of Bhuvneshwari would go, but he would do a kind of a proto sadhana before one gets into das Mahavidyas. I could actually participate only in that proto thing. I could never learn the thus Mahavidya's forming, although he knew it. How do we look at it psychoanalytically? The sadhana of Bhuvneshwari deals with the root chakra, sexual center, and the power center, also some part of the heart center. Especially the earth element part of it is very important. So when we look at the manic movements, when we look at the bipolar difficulty of too little earth elements or too much of the earth element. In manic movement, there is too little of the earth element. In bipolar, it's fluctuating. When you have the manic cycle, there is too little of the earth element active and too much of the air element. When we look at the lower cycle, there is too much of the earth element and too little of the air element from a yogic Ayurvedic standpoint. When we look at addiction, again we have the same thing. Either it's too much of the earth element or too much of the air element. When we look at borderline self-cuts, there is too much of the fire element or too much of the air element, the fear of disintegration, the fear of loneliness, an unbearable vacuum, the fear of emptiness. When we look at catatonia, there is too much of earth element, too much of inertia, the pathological part of the root chakra. So all of these are helped out by the sadhana of Bhuvneshwari. Because earth element is one of the Panch Mahabhutas, and the sadhana of Bhuvneshwari optimizes this. Second very important element is of the fear of the world. In language of CBT, we would say the world is not a safe place. People are not safe. They can attack us anytime. They can scold us. They can cause us pain. And this does not allow us to approach people, to be with people, to work with people, to ask of people, to convince people, to manage people. And this fear of people, and similarly, there is a fear of the world, which does not allow us to take initiative, entrepreneurship, any risk, because we believe fundamentally it's a catastrophic world. It's not a world of opportunity, it's a world of threats. And this sadhana allows us to overcome both the fear of people and the fear of the world. So if the sadhana is done well, at the end of it, we come to the template. It is safe to be with people. It is safe to approach people. It is safe to be in the world. It is safe to take initiative in the world. Catastrophic thinking is overcome because I am not good enough in a fundamental sense, and the world is a horrible place. Both of them are overcome in this. Social anxiety of the other will attack me is overcome. I am not good enough is overcome. Initiative is empowered, and inertia is sublimated into its equivalent, the sublimated equivalent, stability. So from a psychoanalytic standpoint, these are the areas where this sadhana of Bhuvneshwari is. Again, talking in terms of the Eastern language, Bhuvneshwari helps to optimize Agni, and this helps digest both biological entities to be digested and psychological entities to be digested. So the idea of trauma and the resolution of trauma from an Ayurvedic standpoint or the yogic standpoint involves the concept of Agni. Agni is that capability to process or digest psychological events in the mind. And when what is to be digested is too much for Agni, meaning the healing process is find what is to be healed, too much to be dealt with. The Agni is not adequate to digest those traumatic experiences, the mental Agni. Then pathology starts. Similarly, when the Vayu is too high, cannot be regulated by the earth element, then it gets into many areas. One of the areas it can get into is what we call schizophrenia. Ego strength in the Muladhara and in the heart chakra is enhanced by this sadhana of Bhuvneshwari. The comfort with closeness, the comfort with challenge, these are very important elements. The fear of closeness and the fear of challenge. And in the fear of challenge, the catastrophic thinking is inevitably involved. Fear of social participation. And without any asceticism, a balance is brought about in engaging with society, in engaging with the other, and engaging with the physical world and biological world around us. In terms of personal experience, at a point I felt difficult in engaging with the social world. And I read in Sri Aurobindo, this is often the case for many who work more in the intellectual and the spiritual realm and find the physical world outside difficult to deal with initially, but over a period of time, you get to develop a capability of it. So the very engagement, even intellectually with Bhuvneshwari, starts developing that capability of positively, happily, confidently engaging with the physical world, the natural world, the biological world, the social world. And this is one of the good parts about the Mahavidya. The whole package is a very rounded package. By the time you are done with all the 10, it ensures a very quick, deep, and rounded development and healing.